Well, hi there, Pipe Pals. Ooh, that's pretty precarious. Okay, is that going to work? I don't know if you can see me or not. Let's see if this is working here. And there I am. Greetings to you. I'm going to see if I can do a multicam this evening. As I, let's see, is that going to work? I might have to move this over just a wee bit. Yeah, see, I'm moving that over there. Moving that over here. Okay. Okay. I don't know how that is working, but there we go. All right. Well, how you all doing? It's me, the old Holy Smoking Pipe Padre, coming at you here. Now, you wonder what's going on here. Hold on just a second. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's a little bit better. Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can get this to go there. Okay. All right. Well, got the old, well, not the old, the new MacBook here. And got the old iPhone over there. So I thought I'd make a video and just say howdy. So tonight, I want to talk about, you know who, the one, the only, the inimitable, Mr. Sherlock B. Holmes.
Nicholas Ward in the Northern Chamber Orchestra with a symphony by Franz.
You thought I was going to say Sherlock A. Holmes, but actually it's Sherlock B. Holmes.
It's a pleasure to have you with
B.
us.
Holmes.
You're on Capri,
That's the message tonight.
Sacramento, and 88.7.
Okay, but before we do that,
Membership is capital.
I don't know if you saw my little accoutrement of Calabash pipes here. Very Sherlockian here. Kind of doing the old Sherlock thing. Calabash pipes, wonderful old Calabash pipes.
Now it's music for the opera by Emil Folleret in the Czech.
And we even have a Basil Rathbone special here. This was a replica. It's a Peterson. It's got the old Peterson P-lip there. Peterson P-lip. Okay. Love this pipe. And that's in honor of Basil Rathbone. Basil Rathbone. And but this one here is especially in honor of Jeremy Brett. This wonderful little fireside church warden. And I've smoked this a number of occasions. I usually call this my skinny pipe when I'm losing weight. Kind of losing some weight now. We'll talk about that in just a moment. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to go into the settings in this new little MacBook, and I want to, because I think it's automatically turning off. So we want to just set the settings a little bit higher. Okay, there we are. That says okay. Very good. Okay, very good. There we are. Okay. Doesn't get any better than this. I'm smoking some Mixture 965. Maybe you can see that. Mixture 965. Mixture 965. And it's quite good. Definitely an English blend. And I've had this, this goes back to the Escudo days. I just finished that tin of Escudo. And it was a bit dry, but I did my little hydration trick, and it always works. I don't think there's any problems doing it. I will say this, though. Let me get a shot of coffee here. Also got some coffee. Don't want to spill that on my computers. Okay. Coffee at the elbow, pipe in my hand, some nice music, and you. So, the one thing I would say about the hydration thing that I do is, again, it's not a bad trick. It's just a little bit of distilled water, a little spritz of distilled water. Then you seal it back up and let it wait for a day or two, and it's ready to go. Bob's your uncle. Sally's your aunt. Anyway, the thing is, though, you can only do it so many times, and it pretty much after a while the tobacco becomes a little bit insipid. So you just need to understand that it'll bring it back to probably 90% of what it once was. So the best thing to do is preserve it in a good mason jar when you get it originally. That'll keep it almost, I wouldn't say it will keep it forever, but it certainly will keep it for a long time. But if you need to rescue tobacco, that's one way to do it. That's the way I do it. So this is nice and moist and tender now, and it's just perfect smoking for all you boys and girls out there. Well, you're probably wondering why I'm back, and I am back just to say hello, and I want to talk about, I've been on a little bit of a break this week, and I started watching some of my old favorite TV shows. Now, I want to talk about something here real quick about the past, the present, and the future. And one of the things about me as a person is I feel like I've always been the kind of a person that is more connected with the past than I am with, say, future things. Now, some people might say, wait a minute, you're Mr. Geek Tech guy. You like Mac products and all that kind of stuff. And so here you are, this techno kind of guy. And you surround yourself with the latest technology when you can. And that's true. That's very, very true. But my heart and soul is kind of a romantic kind of a guy. You know, I kind of like the older ways of doing things. And that probably doesn't come to a big surprise to most of you, if some of you. But I would say that lately I have been a bit, shall we say, distracted by contemporary things. I've never been really a big social media person other than YouTube. And that's okay. But I've kind of lost a little bit of my connection to some of my favorite historical things, past. When I say pastime, I mean pastime. And what I used to love to do, and I'm losing a connection with that to some extent, is I used to like to watch older movies and TV shows. I mean, things that had quality to them. I never got into contemporary culture as far as like like things like Friends or Seinfeld. Now, don't get me wrong. If you like Seinfeld and Friends and some of those contemporary shows, that's great. I'm not ragging on you. I just didn't relate to those things. And I always enjoyed, things like All Creatures Great and Small, Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple, Hercule Poirot, those kinds of dramas and stories. And so the other day I saw on iTunes that you could download some of the late great Jeremy Brett's adaptations, well, not just the adaptations of Sherlock Holmes. Now, the one wonderful thing that Jeremy Brett did was, for the most part, he, although most people love Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce as Holmes and Watson, you can't go wrong, and those are wonderful, charming stories, but they're not actually Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. They were Anthony Boucher and Dennis Green, I think they were, screenwriters, story writers, and they adapted a lot of the Conan Doyle stories. They kind of mixed and matched bits and pieces here and there, and kind of hybridized and I'll even say bastardized, the canon. So with Jeremy Brett, what he did, which was awesome, was he was, as far as to his own ability. Now, being just an actor, he didn't have a lot of sway, but he actually went to bat for Conan Doyle, and he basically said, "Look, let's do these stories as they really were written, for the most part." And he actually did that. He said there were many times he had to go to battle with Granada TV. And but by and large, and that was one of the things that I remembered why I liked Jeremy Brett so much, was that he actually did the entire canon of the Conan Doyle stories of Sherlock Holmes. So we owe a great debt to this great actor. So anyway, I was looking at The Sign of Four, which was one of my all-time favorite Holmes stories. And I just love that story. And in that story, The Sign of Four, he smokes a church warden almost identical to this one here. Of course, I think he does this more. Maybe even that. Holds it like that. And it's just amazing watching that wonderful presentation of The Sign of Four with Jeremy Brett and Edward Hardwicke. Edward Hardwicke as Watson, not David Burke. David Burke was the original Watson, but Edward Hardwicke, in about the 6th or 7th story, they switched him out. But anyway, I just was watching that, and then I kind of got intrigued because I knew that Jeremy Brett had a lot of tragedy in his life. And the thing was that he was married, and his wife died, well, about 4 or 5 years before he did, I believe. Actually, 10 years before he did. I think Jeremy Brett died in 1995, and his wife died in 1985. So I could be wrong on the dates, but halfway through... No, I take that back. I think she died about 5 years before he did. So They started those Granada TV shows back in the early 80s, or 83, 84, and I think she died around 1988. So again, those dates I know are a little off, perhaps, but I do know that he survived his wife for about over 5 years, 6 years. So, but anyway, he also suffered from bipolar issues, and he had some congenital heart defects when he was a child, I guess, because he had rheumatic fever or something, and it scarred his heart or his lungs or something. But anyway, he had some health problems, and he had bipolar issues. So he was a very complex human being. And he was they even said he had issues with being bisexual. But anyway, and that's I want to just take a little sideways here, just a little aside, a little tangent to say this, because I've kind of been wanting to say this for a while. Why is it that figures like Jesus and Superman, I guess even Batman to some extent, and Sherlock Holmes intrigue people? And I think I'm going to submit this to you guys for your own discretion, if you'd like to think about this. And that is, I think, especially in our world today, and I hate to say this because I know it sounds like I'm being political again, but I'm not really. But let's face it, everybody's all focused and obsessed with sex. Sex. Everything is all about sex. And if that floats your boat, hey, so be it. But I think in some ways, the historical person of Jesus being celibate, Superman until recently, until in the 80s when Christopher Reeve started,
Thanks for choosing
doing the hanky-panky with Margot, what's her name? Lois Lane.
We get support from the Hagen Museum.
Very first time, we see Superman. He's in bed. With a woman. But for the most part, these characters were, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, the fictional characters, Sherlock Holmes, Superman, Batman, they didn't really have a quote-unquote sex life. And Margot Kidder, that's who it was. And the bottom line was that in some ways it was intriguing. Maybe because most people realize that most people aren't celibate. Most people, But again, I think part of the appeal of Sherlock Holmes especially was that he kind of was above that. And again, I'm not here to rag on, human sexuality, but at the same time, that added to the mystique because it kind of set him apart. Maybe not above, but apart. And it's kind of like almost refreshing. You don't have to worry about his sex life. You just, you don't get caught up in that. So, but anyway, so getting back to Jeremy Brett, I thought it was really intriguing that this actor was able to really play Sherlock Holmes in such an interesting, authentic, and unique way. What I thought was interesting, I did a little bit more research about Jeremy Brett and started looking at some of his filmography. And, interestingly enough, he even played a priest in a little TV adaptation play called The Prodigal Daughter, which was very interesting. And so I watched also some interviews with him talking about his life and being Sherlock Holmes. And there were three things I thought were really intriguing. One, he said that they said, well, how did you find the character? Did you relate to the character? And he said in some of the earlier interviews, he says, I didn't like him at all. He says, I couldn't, I just didn't warm to him. He's a very cold, and he's so self-possessed. He's so uh, introverted, I guess. Kind of like yours truly. It's all elementary. And so he made this one phrase he said, which was interesting. He later kind of changed it. He said, if I saw him walking down the street, I would probably be on the other side of the street, Jeremy Brett said. And I thought that was very, very interesting. But later he said, I realized later, he says, after he finally got through his grief with his first wife, or his wife, I think he was married twice actually. After he got over the grief, he began to realize that this Sherlock Holmes character was really making his success story. You know, he became a real overnight household name, and everybody knew who he was. He was Sherlock Holmes. So he said at the end, the last few years when he was playing Holmes, and later we actually did some plays, actual, wouldn't say they weren't Broadway plays, but they were actual plays in a theater with Edward Hardwicke. But he said in the end, he said if I saw Holmes on the street, we probably would still not, we'd probably still be on the opposite sides of the street, but this time it wouldn't be me wanting to be separated from him. It would probably be, because I know Holmes so well, it would be Holmes that would choose to stay on the other side of the street. So that was an interesting insight. And then the other one, he said that he was, in order to find the character of Holmes, and this kind of got, and I've heard some different stories, that he actually had to become. He said, I had to become Holmes. And he said that was hard for him because he really was more of an outgoing, extroverted person, lighthearted. And you can see that in some of his interviews. He's kind of, he's definitely a very complex human being, but a nice person. You could tell he was really, certainly well educated. He was educated at Eton. So anyway, but the thing was that he said he had to become Holmes, not just try to find Holmes, but he had to become Holmes. And some people said that led to him having a breakdown. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know how accurate that is, but I thought that was very interesting. But the last thing I'm going to talk about, my little Sherlock monogram here. Not doing any tobacco ash tonight, monograms, just Sherlock monograms. He said that the thing about Sherlock Holmes that really intrigued him the most was, he said, the reason why Sherlock Holmes is so magical is because he's an 8-year-old child at heart. Now, what he meant by that wasn't that he was immature in the sense of being like a little, baby, or someone that was kind of helpless or ignorant. But what he said was that in being an 8-year-old, most of us, 8-year-olds, he pointed out, were kids who had imagination. In other words, you hear the saying, well, they never really grew up. They still could believe in wonderful things. As when you become older, of course, you get jaded and you get kind of worn down by the daily grind. You grow up. You got to be responsible. And you lose that sense of magic and imagination and mystery. Another interesting point, his wife, his late wife, was the lady who produced BBS Mystery, which I thought was very interesting. But I really liked what he said about Holmes was at heart an 8-year-old. An 8-year-old who had not lost the magic. And I just really thought that was wonderful. That was brilliant. I just thought that was great. I think the reason why so many people get locked into such negativity is they feel themselves that are trapped. Oh, hey, come back here. Come back here. And Holmes was able to be himself. As crazy. What was one of the things about Jeremy Brett was he was able to get that kind of eccentric, kind of quirkiness that he had. You know, one minute he could be very urbane and, you know, sophisticated, I guess we would say, being the English gentleman. But Jeremy Brett's, it was a kind of a frenetic kind of a Holmes. You know, he could, you know, be really kind of, you know, brusque and off-putting and irritable, like a hungry little 8-year-old. He could be focused. You know, look at kids. You know, they can be really truly focused. You know, give them a video game, and they're, you know, or iPhone. You know. But a lot of us kind of lose that, and that's the thing I was going to try to say is that Holmes kind of teaches us, you know, to hold on, to fight for imagination and magical things, magical thinking, if you will, in a positive way. So I just thought, you know, it was interesting that, you know, as I look in my life, I've been getting kind of poisoned by contemporary culture. Sorry to say it that way, but it seems that way. And I don't want to lose my connections with the things that I find are valuable and important. A lot of times I find myself getting caught up in contemporary issues, and although they're important, make no mistake, they're important. But I find myself, you know, instead of watching a movie like some of these Jeremy Brett, Sherlock Holmes videos, or other good dramas, I find myself wanting to get caught up with the latest, you know, vegan controversies, you know, and Freely the Banana Girl and Durian Ryder and all these people that are fighting each other, and you know, and just all the drama that we kind of get caught up with in any, you know, social media, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever floats your boat.
The legislation signed today is intended at cracking down on untraceable firearms known as ghost guns.
Ghost guns. Ooh. What about ghost pipes?
Stories can be heard on Capital Public Radio News. And in just a brief moment, we'll continue with William Herschel's 14th Symphony.
So anyway, I just wanted to kind of vent my spleen and share those little insights with you all. Also, lastly, just giving you a little keto update there. Little Padre's still doing the keto thing. Now, I have, as of today, 22nd of July, 7 full months of being in ketosis. And in some ways that's been really, really good, but I haven't been losing weight. I've just been maintaining. Now, I've tweaked my little diet a little bit more, so I've been kind of a little bit more strict with myself. But the last thing I've employed this week is some radical intermittent fasting. And although I've been hovering around 200 pounds, when I lost the weight the first time 2 years ago, I got down to like 175. I was pretty lean. I was pretty skinny. I had never really did get lean, but I was getting there. Then I came here, and as you know, I kind of started getting off my diet. But, you know, the bottom line was I stayed true to the exercise part, and I even have been doing that really well. I'm really happy to say I've been really faithful to my daily exercises and walking and pull-ups and push-ups and stuff. Been really doing really good there. But I've been employing some radical intermittent fasting, and this is how I really lost a lot of the weight 2 years ago. It's hard to get into. I mean, I was doing intermittent fasting about 18 hours a day, and again, I was maintaining pretty much, but not losing. So I said, okay, when did I really lose all the weight? Well, it was when I implemented 36-hour fasting. And I did that 3 days a week. So essentially what I do is from Sunday night to Tuesday late afternoon, I don't eat anything on Monday. So I did that on Monday, I did it on Wednesday, and today is Friday, and I've got 23 hours now. And 36-hour fasts for me are pretty strong medicine. And I'm now almost at 24 hours for this fast, and I'll just go through the evening and then go to bed and wake up tomorrow, and I'll have 36 hours. Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. And so on Monday, when I weighed myself, I was 203, and that's probably about one of the heaviest I've been in the last 6 months. And as of yesterday, I was down to 197. So 6 pounds. And again, I've got that adipose tissue there, that little bit of the belly that's left, you know, that little bit of chubbiness. And I really want to just burn that off. So today is a day, it's my last day of vacation, holiday, whatever you want to call it. And so it's my third consecutive day of, you know, intermittent fasting, 36-hour days. And I know that will pretty much do the trick. And it's just getting into that, because the first couple of days you do it, it's not easy. Now, right this moment, do I feel overwhelmed with hunger pangs? No. The first 36 hours was a bit tough. But it's not something you can't do. And I heard a wonderful saying. Chris Kruger, TSC Super Challenge guy here in Southern California, he had a guy on who was like 300 plus pounds, and he got down to 180. I guess he's 185 now. He was a chunky fella, and he got super skinny, and he's going to try to lose the rest of it now. But he had a neat saying, and I heard it last Saturday, and I thought, boy, I like that saying. And what he said was this. He said, the less I eat, the easier it is to eat less. I thought that was a great insight, because it's true. And there's a few of you who've commented on my videos when I lost the weight, said I would kind of inspired you, and if I did, I'm happy about that. If you really want to know more about the science and just from a day-to-day practical thing, check out a guy named Butter Bob Briggs. Butter Bob Briggs, he has got it down. He was like, I think he was 400 pounds. He's down to like 180. Well, no, 175, 165. He's phenomenal. He's 51, 52. But anyway, the less I eat, the easier it is to eat less. So if some of you are struggling, you know, maybe you haven't tried the LCHF, you know, low carb, high fat diet, known as the keto diet, ketogenic diet. But the thing is that it's all about insulin. It's all about fighting insulin and fighting type 2 diabetes. So if you have struggled with your weight, check out a lot of these people on the ketogenic diet, paleo diet, primal blueprint if that's what you're into. But you can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, Butter Bob Briggs can do it, and there are hundreds of other people who have found this way of life, and they really like it. The nice thing about fasting, once you establish that is a part of your life, it becomes easier. And on the days you don't eat, you don't have to worry about cooking, shopping, preparing meals, cleaning up after yourself. Again, you're going to go through, I'm not going to lie to you, you're going to go through, it's going to be hard. On one level, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. Also, check out Dr. Jason Fung. Also, he's the doc behind, he has a lot of the good science behind this. He's got a lot of great videos on YouTube. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Hope you're all doing well. Just sitting here enjoying my last few hours of freedom before I go back to work this weekend. So I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for, kind of just sharing part of my life, from time to time, checking in on the old Holy Smoking Pipe Andre, who likes to say, to you and yours, light up your world and light up your pipe. We'll see you soon. Take care. Watson! There you are.